everyone, it is Ellen, and today I am making a simple circular coaster. I make a lot of these coasters. Every year I make a few at least because we use them. We really enjoy drinking ice water in our family, and these are great for collecting that condensation. You see all that condensation that this is already, see, I don't know if you could tell, it feels wet because this is ice water that it's now melted. We're in June, it's very, very hot, so lots of ice cold drinks, and these coasters are great. They collect the condensation, they protect our wood furniture, and they're really pretty, and I enjoy making them. So also a really great way to use your scrap yarn. And so that's really what brings me here to this video, is because if you saw my video that I just posted called Armenian Eternity Sign, then you'll know that I played Yarn Chicken with this yarn and I lost. I was unable to complete that project. So no problem. I just decided to use up the yarn with coasters. It's a nice cotton. It's going to work great. It's working great. So yeah, let me show you how to do it. It's really, really easy. So all you need is of course, some yarn. I'm going to play some Yarn Chicken again with this, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have enough. It's important to use a cotton or some sort of cotton blend yarn so that it's going to absorb that moisture. And I'm going to be using a worsted weight yarn here. This is, I believe, from Peaches and Cream, just your simple basic kitchen quality cotton yarn. I'm also using a corresponding size crochet hook. I am using a 6 millimeter. You could probably use a 5 millimeter as well. But really any corresponding hook to your yarn. And really this pattern, this circular pattern that I'm going to show you, it's going to work with whatever yarn. If you have a smaller yarn, you're just going to need more rows to get the size. So, okay, so let's begin. So you're going to need your yarn, a hook. Of course, you're going to need a darning needle to sew in your ends, and a pair of scissors to cut. So I'm going to start with a chain 4. You could start with a magic circle, which is what I did here. A really, really nice looking center there with a magic circle. But you can also start with a chain 4. Let's see the difference. You start with a slip knot with your chain 4. And then, of course, you chain 1, 2, 3, 4. And slip stitch to join to create a ring. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2. This is not going to count as my first double crochet. It's just really going to fill in that gap that you would normally get if you just chain 3 and you counted that as your first stitch. So this is not going to be a first stitch. The first stitch is going to be a single crochet, a double crochet. So that is 1. And then your next double crochet, that's 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 4 double crochets, 5 double crochets, 6 7 8 9 10 11 and 12 double crochets in total. So you're going to have 12 double crochets, and then you're going to slip stitch into the first double crochet, not that chain 2, into the first double crochet. And actually, you know, I always like to count. I'm a little bit obsessive about counting, because if I don't count, then I'm going to have to frog, I know. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So yes, we're going to double crochet, slip stitch into that first double crochet, and now I've completed my first round. And I can see if I can maybe pull this tail to close that up a bit. And it will close up a bit, especially since I have I crocheted over it. So that's how that looks compared to this. So, you know, pretty close with a chain 4. So now I'm going to chain 2 and double crochet into that first stitch, which is the same stitch that chain 2 is in, the same stitch that I worked that slip stitch. So this is essentially one double crochet here that chain 2 is not counting, and I'm going to now work another double crochet into that same stitch. So now I have 2 double crochets in the first stitch, and I'm going to work 2 double crochets into the second stitch and 2 in the third, and so on. 2 double crochets in each stitch around. Now, essentially, when you're working 2 double crochets into one stitch, what you are doing is you are increasing your work. You're increasing the stitch count. And so in the first round here, or I should say the second round, we're in every single stitch, we are increasing. So we started with 12. Stitches around, and because we are basically doubling the stitches, we will end up with 24 stitches around. Two double crochets in each stitch. That's 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Okay, so again, we should have 24 stitches now, and I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. So I'm now going to slip stitch into that first double crochet. And I've completed round 2. And you see, now I don't have that weird little gap that you normally get when you just chain 3 and count that as a double crochet, and I like that. So now for round 3, we're going to chain 2 again, not counting as a stitch, and we're going to double crochet into that same stitch where the chain 2 is made. We're going to increase that same stitch with another double crochet. So we're starting row 3 just like we started row 2. Only now, instead of working 2 double crochets into the next stitch, we're only going to work 1 double crochet in the following stitch, like so. The next stitch we're going to increase again. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the following stitch. And the reason why we're doing it this way, I mean, if we increased every single row, then we would end up, the row would be all bunched up like that. It would be just ruffled around. And while that might be nice if you're making a ruffled project, like maybe like some sort of like a skirt for a doll or something like that, it's really not good when you want a nice flat coaster. So we're going to increase as we go around, but just a little less gradually each row. And if you forget where you are, all you have to really do is look at your previous stitches to know that I'm going to put a 1 double crochet here, 2 in the next, 1 double crochet, etc., etc. So we're going to do that all the way around, and I will meet you when we get to the end of the round. Okay, so now we are at the end of round 3, and we've worked 1 double crochet into that last stitch. We should have 36 stitches all around, and we are now going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet that we worked. Okay, we've completed that round. Now this is, you could use this as a coaster right here and just stop. It's kind of a small coaster, but I'd like something a little bit bigger for my big fat glasses. And I think that 1 more row is just going to be more of a standard coaster size anyway. So if you're making these as a gift, then I would work another row. And I do believe I still have enough yarn here to do that. So let's make another row. This is row 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to chain 2. Again, doesn't count as a stitch. Going to double crochet just as we did before into that same stitch, and we're going to work another double crochet into that same stitch. Essentially, we've created 2 double crochets here. And like before, we're going to double crochet into the following stitch, but instead of increasing in the next stitch, we're going to work just 1 double crochet. We will, however, increase in the following stitch. We're going to work 1 and 2 double crochets into that stitch, followed by 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. If I said single crochet here, I apologize for that. I don't know if I said that or not. It's double crochet. This project is all double crochets, as well as some chains and slip stitches. So I'm working 2, so an increase, 1, 1. I'm going to do another increase. And then 1 and 1. What I like to do when I'm just sort of crocheting mindlessly or partially mindlessly is I think, in crease 1, 2. So when my brain hears 2, I know that I need to do another increase. And since increase has 2 syllables and 2 stitches, I just like to think of it as in crease 1, 2, in crease 1, 2. Now, if you're really mindlessly crocheting, you're watching a movie or having a conversation or making a YouTube video, and you sort of lose your place and don't really know where you are, and you're like, oh, what is the next stitch? I can't really remember. Then just look back. I was like, 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. So I'm like, okay, I need to increase here. So really, really easy. This is such an easy project. And so super handy. So all we need to do is work around to the end, and I will meet you back when we get to the end of the row. And we have reached the end of our row, and you should have 48 stitches around. I don't know if you've noticed that every single row we add an additional 12 stitches. So the first was 12 stitches around, then it was 24, then it was 36, then it was 48. So every single row has an additional 12 stitches. And there's my ice maker. I don't know if you just heard that, but the ice maker just made some yummy ice, and I'll be able to put some more into this cup soon. Maybe I'll use this coaster next. Who knows? Live a little dangerously and use a brand new coaster, 2 in one day. All right, so now you probably guessed what we're gonna do. We're gonna slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked here. And we're almost done. If you like the size of this coaster, then you can stop here. If you'd like to continue, and if you want to just keep working endless, you want to make a giant circle that's gonna, I don't know, you're gonna work with giant yarn, and you want to make a rug, and you want, 20 rows, then all you have to do is every single row add 1 extra single double crochet in a stitch. So like the next row, instead of doing increase 1, 1, you would do an increase 1, 2, 3. Increase, you would do increase 1, 2, 3, and then you would increase 1, 2, 3. And then the next row after that would be increase 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase 1, 2, 3, 4. The next row would be increase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each time you're adding another 12 stitches to your stitch count, and you'll get a nice big circle that lays flat, and that's really all there is to it. So easy. But I'm good here. This is a good size coaster for me. This project really is not a yarn hog. You can see I still have some yarn here, and I'll bet I can make another coaster with this. I'll try and I'll let you know. But for now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 to tie off. I'm going to take my scissors. And I'm going to take my embroidery needle here. And I'm going to weave in my ends. Let's see, so I'm going to go to the back here. And I'm just going to sort of get down to this. I like to sort of find a nice row that I can bury my yarn. Down a little bit. And then work my way back. Obviously I'm not going to go into the same area. I'm going to go over. Now, if you go back and forth 3 times, when you're weaving your ends, your yarn is not going to go anywhere. You're going to be set. And that's back and forth 3 times. There. Oh yeah, and I gotta do this part 2. Now I did have a knot here at the end. I'm just gonna cut that off. Now I did crochet over my end and tightened it as I was working, but I'm gonna give it just another little bit of a weaving in just for double security. So now just going around the circle is sort of like going back and forth because you're going in different directions. And One last time around. There we go. Oops, sorry. All right, I'm going to cut there and cut there. And now I have another coaster. Oops, there we go. Now it's interesting that this blue one looks a little bit bigger than the green. Not by much, but just an itty bit. And I think, and I used the same size hook for both of them, but I think this yarn was just a tad bit thicker. But otherwise, they're pretty much the same. Stack them there. Yeah. The blue one's it's just an itty bitty. But you know, I bet I could stretch the green and make them the same. But it's interesting how different yarns, even though they're both cotton and seemingly the same size, that there can be slight differences. And that's really the fun of crochet, I think, is, you know, even though you sort of have an idea of what you're going to end up with, there's still some surprises. You're still going to be surprised by the final work, and that just makes it really exciting. So yeah, there we go. I've got my new coaster. I'll let this one dry out. I know you can see it's all dark there because it's gotten really sopping wet. Yeah, I hope you're having a cool summer. It's been really hot here. We've been having super high temperatures, and I'm very grateful for my ice maker. So I think I'm going to make a few more coasters. I think I'm going to use up this yarn and see if yarn chicken works. So I'll let you know. Womp womp. I lost the round of yarn chicken. I was only able to crochet 3 rounds. But no worries, I have more scrap yarn I can use, and you can always change color with these. So it's not like the eternity sign that I was making that I really had to keep it all one color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just add another color, and let me show you how to do that since we're here. All right, so I want to join my yarn. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook like you're going to slip stitch. But don't slip stitch. Actually, I'm going to drop my blue yarn. I'm going to grab my pink yarn, and I'm going to create a loop with that yarn, and I'm going to pull that loop through and through like I'm slip stitching. And now I'm going to drop the tail. Make sure that you drop the tail and that you grab the working yarn. And I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to chain 1 again. So I have a chain 2 for my first stitch. And then you're going to just make your double crochet just like you normally would. And your second double crochet just like you normally would. And continue around. 1 double crochet in the next, 1 double crochet in the next. And if you get lost and you can't really remember like how many increases you need in a row, then you can look at the previous row. This previous row I had an increase, and then 1, and then an increase, and then 1, and an increase. And now I'm going to do an increase and then 1 double crochet in the following 2 stitches. So it's increase, 1, 2, and then another increase. So I've got increase, and then 1, 2, increase, 1, 2, etc., etc., all the way around. See you in a minute. Okay, and I have finished my final row, and it really doesn't look that bad. I mean, the colors don't really go together perfectly, but when you have the glass on it, it's going to look like a pretty cool pink coaster. And my daughter loves pink. I'm going to surprise her and give that to her. She'll be able to enjoy that at the dinner table tonight, and I think it'll bring a smile to her face because pink is her favorite color. Anyway, I'm going to finally end this video. I was only going to show you how to make one coaster, and I ended up showing you how to make two and how to change colors of yarn. And I hope that this has been super helpful. If you enjoyed this video and did find it helpful, then please give it a like. And if you would like to be informed of more videos coming up from this channel, then please subscribe, because I do plan on making more videos in the near future. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a beautiful day and a very happy crochet.